Susie, or hi Susan. I'm not sure how you would like me to call you. So it would be amazing if you shortly introduce yourself to the listeners.
I'm Susi Kaeufer. I think only my parents call me Susanne, which is the good old German pronunciation, but international I always use Susi. I am German, but I left Germany in 2014 on a round the world trip, backpacking, but I never came back. So I moved to Australia. I started my own business there. I'm a mindset and business coach today. And then I did even leave Australia again to travel full time 3 years ago, I think. I think it's the fourth year fully on the road with my business and my boyfriend.
Cool, that's amazing. And it's funny because I left Germany with my boyfriend as well in 2014. So exactly the same year. So when you started your business, did you actually start right away when you went to Australia or went to on a road trip kind of, or did you already start it before?
Not at all. When I left Germany, I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know what business to start. So I was just traveling around the world for 2 years without a business. And in Australia, I actually got a job, like a classic backpacker job in customer service, where I could speak German and English. They were looking for international backpackers. But it was a job again, so relatively quickly, I again came to this point of, it's in Australia, it's a little bit better, but it's still not really the kind of freedom that I want for myself. It does not really allow me to be location independent and to really go wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go. And that's when I started looking into how could I actually turn my skills and my passions into location independent business. So no, many people think I did have a business before I even started, but for the first couple of years, I just volunteered. I worked overseas. I did a lot of animal volunteering in exchange for free accommodation and food. So there are other ways. Business is not the only way to travel the world. It's now my way, and I now teach my clients as well how to build location independent businesses. But I also have done it the other way. So there are limitless opportunities.
Cool. I really like that you said you don't actually need a business right from the start, because I have so many people asking me like, how did you do that? Wasn't it really hard to move abroad? And so how was it for you? Like, when did you make the decision to actually go on a backpacking trip and just take it from there?
That's exactly how it was. I've been talking about going on a round the world trip for probably 12 years whilst I was living in Germany. I think I started talking about it when I finished school. I came home with a work and travel Australia brochure, and I do remember that my parents said, yeah, but that's not realistic. Like, how do you want to go to Australia? And I mean, you will go finish school, and then you will get a job, and then you can start working up the career ladder, and then later on you can travel. And that just didn't sit very well with me. I tried many years actually, because I didn't have the courage to just say, no, I'll just go and travel the world forever. So I worked in media agencies in Germany until my 30th birthday, basically. 30th birthday was this doom date of, is this really what I want to do with my life? No, it's not, but it's so scary. Should I really do it? Oh my God, what if everything's going to fall apart and I'll be broke and I'll get sick and oh my God. And it took me years to overcome all those limitations that are basically got placed into my head from other people, from people who love security and from people who just couldn't picture how this is going to work out. So it took me quite a while. As much as it now looks like this brave, easy journey, it was a long journey. But then I decided, okay, I'm going to do it. I wanted to do a working holiday visa in Australia since I was 18, and the maximum age for that was 31. So the clock was ticking after my 30th birthday. And that's when I decided to do it. And I didn't even know where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do, apart from I knew I wanted to go to South Africa and to Australia. And that was basically all I knew. People were asking me all the time, and what are you going to do afterwards? And how are you going to earn money? And what's the whole purpose of this? And I did not know. It really did unfold when I went. And everybody was kind of waiting for me to come back, crying and desperate for a job. And it just never happened.
That's really cool. I really like that you just went for it and actually like you said, it just unfolded on your way, because I think there are so many people out there who actually would love to start their own business and maybe even a coaching business. And it's like the fear is holding them back. And especially in like growing up as a German, everyone is like, oh, but you need to secure a job and you need to do this and then you need to study. And for me, it was exactly the same, because I have been to Australia in 2007. So I was 14. And then I was like, oh, I met this backpacker and I would really love to do that as well after I finished school. But I met my boyfriend before. And since he didn't really want to go that far, we moved to Malta and now we're in Portugal. But still, like kind of we just went for it and we were like, yeah, just let's do it. So because, what can happen? I mean, the worst case would be you need to go back, and it didn't happen. So I think it's amazing if you just go for it.
In the end, we only regret the chances that we didn't take. I haven't met many people that regret it, that they went for something brave.
So how did this business idea develop, like during your travels?
I kind of got into coaching before I knew anything about the coaching world online, which I today believe was a big blessing, because I do think many people see it and then they're not sure it's their thing, but they try it anyway. And it can be tricky if you are exposed with the online coaching world before you're actually clear if you're meant to be a coach, I think. I feel like I have figured out that I'm meant to be a coach whilst working in Australia. So I worked in a customer service center and I climbed up the career ladder relatively quick. So I became a team leader and I started mentoring people and I started coaching new employees, and they all came into the job scared, overwhelmed, and like it's the most complicated thing in the world. And I noticed that I am a mentor that is really good at simplifying things for people, making people believe in themselves, and empowering people to make the best out of the situation. So I kind of started coaching and mentoring in a job. And I loved the coaching and mentoring. I just didn't really enjoy the topic that we were talking about, like how to perform best in a corporate job. That, it was kind of, the activity was amazing and it was really my skill set, but it was really not what I was passionate about or what I wanted to really talk about all day long. And that's when I looked into how to get certified as a coach. And only then afterwards, I realized that you can build your whole coaching business as a location independent online business, that you can find clients on social media, that you can do everything on Facebook and Instagram, that you can get fully booked for free just by using social media platforms. And that's how I jumped into this at first.
So when you decided to start for it, what would you say, what was your biggest struggle at the beginning?
I think the biggest struggle was showing up like an expert on social media, like really understanding how to use social media for business. I've used it before. I've shared my travels. I've shared the animal photos. I've shared the beach photos. But when it came to really putting yourself out there and selling and saying, hi, I'm now a coach. You can work with me. This is how much it is. This is why you should do it. This is why it's amazing. I really had to overcome a lot of discomfort, fear of judgment, fear of what will my Facebook friends think, what will my old work colleagues think. And at the beginning, I was really very careful on social media. Like I was doing quotes and everything was kind of nice and fluffy and a little bit motivational, but it wasn't very bold, and I didn't really express what I really believe or what I really stand for or what strong opinions I have, because I was worried that people would say something mean or that people would disagree or that people will be like, who is she to brag about that on Facebook?
So how did you find this confidence? Or do you have any tips for those who are still a bit struggling with this? Because I know there are so many coaches out there and female entrepreneurs and those who want to become one, but I see that many of them, like you said, maybe they don't really post what they actually would like to say, but more kind of share the opinions of someone else, or I see so many people who only share quotes and that's it. I mean, sometimes I use quotes and then I put my own opinion on it or something. But I see so many people like sharing quotes or kind of trying to copy their idol. So what tips do you have for those?
It's tricky, and I remember those times. I started with quotes and stock photos that weren't even of me, you know, I didn't even show my face. So it's fair enough. There's nothing, you're not doomed if you're starting like this. I think it's really about realizing it's a mindset thing, basically, that you have a voice that needs to be heard and that this is your only opportunity to get clients. You will not get clients by just, you know, sharing the message of someone else, because all that wants me to do is hire this someone else person that I see all those amazing content pieces from, but it doesn't tell me anything about you. So I needed to do mindset work. I needed to hire mindset coaches, actually, to really understand that I need to change my German thinking of, you know, toning it down and playing it safe. And that was really not supporting me in being an entrepreneur, and that I needed to start really having the mindset of an entrepreneur when it comes to showing up, being confident, doing videos. My God, I was far away from that. I didn't do any videos at the beginning in my business. And it's an ongoing process to constantly really work on mindset, on beliefs, on working with coaches that push me as well. I also always had coaches myself that were not cuddling me and saying, oh, Susie, just play it safe, play it small. I always had someone who's always helping me to push out of the comfort zone and to do the uncomfortable thing that I know needs to be done. It's not about doing something that's not right for you, but it's about those things where you kind of feel like, I know I should be doing videos. I know I should be showing up more as myself. I know I shouldn't be so scared of what other people think of me. And the important part is to shift your mindset into a level where you actually take the action that you know you're meant to take.
Yeah, I think that's a really really cool tip. Also, like maybe to get a coach and really actually to take action, because I think it happens so often that we just know that we should do something, but then we are kind of, oh, you know, I'll do it tomorrow, and then at the end it doesn't happen. And that's what's going to stop us. And I think especially, like you said, the video part is probably one of the most trickiest for people. And I so remember myself trying to create my first video course because people were asking me to do it. And I was like sitting there, and it took me 3 months to finish it just because I tried to do everything perfect. And it's crazy. And nowadays I do it a video course in a few hours, and it's funny, and it's like a really like long process, I think, especially for introverts. But like you said, it's amazing. You can do it all online, and you can even create your audience with like for free with social media. And I think that's especially something for introverts that's amazing, and to be location independent. So with your now location independent business, how do you actually like make the balance between work and travel? Was it easy at the beginning already, or was it kind of hard to actually maybe like also like explore what's around you, or did you like just work the whole time?
I think it's a great question. I don't work the whole time. I think I travel more than I work. I do have a easy travel schedule, so for most people this would probably be a little bit too crazy, but we've been to a lot of places during the last 3 years. Now I feel very blessed because I've always had my business in a way that I only have a couple of hours a day for it. So I'm not a hustler. Since I left Germany, I left it behind. The whole hustle 10 hours a day mentality is not my thing. It's why I left, in all honesty. So when I was working in a day job in Australia, I was working my day job for 8 hours, and then I was working a couple of hours afterwards in my business. And that worked fine. So it forces you to be efficient. It forces you to do what matters. It forces you to not spend 3 months on recording your online course because you just don't have it. And it forces you to get over perfectionism and into fast and efficient action, which I think was a blessing for me that I had that, because it has always been like that. So I then quit my day job, and we went traveling right away. Like I think the next day we flew to Bali on a one-way ticket. And from then on, yeah, it's about balance, but it's basically, I usually work in the morning and then explore or go to the spa or meet friends or do yoga in the afternoon. And I just kept the same rhythm of taking a couple of hours to get my work tasks done. I create content all the time. Sometimes I'm just on my phone creating Instagram stories, sharing what I'm doing, sharing the travels, and giving a couple of tips at the same time. But that doesn't really feel like work to me personally when I do that. So that would be something I'd probably also do whilst I'm exploring or whilst I'm out. But I think it's actually not even the best thing when you have 12 hours a day, because you'll fill them. You feel like you need to do more and you need to be like more online and in more Facebook groups, and you could record this video again because it wasn't really perfect yet and you could try to improve it. And I think it's not about the person that spends the most time or that has the most time on their business. I think it's really about successful people manage to find the most important tasks and basically focus all their energy on those.
Yeah, cool. So like you said, you don't work the whole day, and for me, I do exactly the same. Like usually, I work in the morning and get all the stuff done, and then in the afternoon, I just take time for myself. I go out, I read stuff, I take a walk with my dog, I also do some yoga or whatever. How many hours do you say are actually really needed to work on if you work efficiently?
Probably really hard to say like in general, but the magic of having your own business is that you design that. So for me, I'm like on a hard day, like a launch day, I maybe work 5 hours. On some days it's only 2 or 3, but that's the whole magic of being your own boss. You get to decide that. You can work 8 hours, for God's sake. If you know, I could do it. I would probably generate more revenue. I would probably scale my business faster, but I'm fine with my awesome 6-figure business that allows me to travel the world whilst I'm actually having time to see it. The amazing thing about being your own boss is that you get to decide. So I don't think there is a rule on how many hours you have to work minimum or how many hours you should have working maximum. It also depends, are you liking to work in the morning or in the evening? Are you a night owl? I'm totally not. And what is also work and what is just not, networking or going out or going to events or seminars, for me doesn't feel like work, but it probably is still officially work.
Yeah, I like that you said you can't really say that exactly, but for example, for you, it's maybe like 5 hours, because especially also like growing up as a German or maybe even like a European, you are like, oh, but it's like an 8 hours workday, so I'm going to work 8 hours. And there's so many people around me I know who have a successful business, but they work like crazy, like from morning. They don't even do a lunch break. Then they finish late in the evening, and I'm always like, why do you do that and how do you manage that? I guess I would go crazy, because even if you love your business, I mean, maybe you also want to grab a coffee somewhere, or like actually like take care of yourself, because even if we are coaches and we might work on the mindset, for example, I think it's so important that we also like work on ourselves, and take time for ourselves. What would you actually like say is, apart from actually doing the work and creating content and going out and stuff, is one of the most important things for you to actually have or build a successful business?
The first thing I want to say about the thing you just shared is I think it's a very German thing, because there is this German, or maybe it's not only German, but many cultures have this belief of success comes from hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be that easy that you're just traveling around the world working 2 hours a day, can it? There's a lot of doubt that even I experience, from family or from old friends that are basically working in a corporate job hard to climb up the career ladder, to make more money. And then I come along and, I've already built this business for the last 4 years, but sometimes you just see, I'm always at the beach and I'm making so much money and blah, blah, blah. And people are like, how the heck is this even possible? Because you have to work hard for success, don't you? And I also kind of do believe I do work hard and efficient, but not 10 hours a day. That's totally not what I mean by that. So I had to overcome this German belief of it has to be hard, it has to take long. That's definitely what I grew up with. But yeah, you have to realize that it's not about how long it takes or how hard the work you put in. It's really about figuring out pretty quickly what are the most important things. And what I have always done was modeling other people. So looking at other successful people in business, like Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek, I think was one of the first books I've read before I even started my business. And it's all about systems and automation and leveraging your time and how can you set up your business in a way that you don't have to do every single thing yourself. So most of the time in my business, I spend on the tasks that nobody else can do, which is coaching people, creating content, doing live streams, and maybe creating my content for programs and courses and upcoming things. Everything else could be done by someone else and should be done by someone else, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally get that. And it's like so much stuff you could actually outsource. And I think it's also what the mistake I made or we made with our company, that we actually didn't get people fast enough, because I think the earlier you get people, the easier it will be later on, because you would need actually another person supporting you or helping you before you actually are like kind of overworked or you don't know how to get all that work done. And it's like before that, it's recommended to actually get one. And I think there are so many like virtual assistants out there who can also already like take so much stuff off. And nowadays it's so easy to find one.
Yes, it is. But most people don't believe they're ready. They don't believe they have the financial means yet to hire a virtual assistant. They don't know how. They've never been a boss themselves. They don't know how to hire people, how to train people, how to pay people. It's a whole new world to step into entrepreneurship. I get that. But you're right. When you are overwhelmed and overworked, then the last thing you want to do is figure out how to hire your first assistant. So yeah, the ideal vision would be that you have assistants before you are completely burned out and overwhelmed and overworked. And that will then free up more time that you can generate on money-making activities, which will then help you to actually be able to afford an assistant. It's a circle that is chasing many people. You just have to sneak through and, again, like with most things, kind of take the action before you feel fully ready.
And if we go back to like when you started traveling and then started with your business, because there are so many people who actually try to always like stay secure, so they are actually like working full time and then for example being employed somewhere, and they think, oh, I just keep this job because in case it's not going to work, I still can like work on my job and continue with my full-time job. So do you think it's really like necessary to actually keep a job, or do you recommend people like, okay, just go with the flow, like kind of you did it, and then just see where it takes you?
You know, I wish everybody would just go with the flow, but I get it, because I was this kind of person. I was like, I have a safe job. I would be a mad person to quit this job to go and travel a little bit without having a plan what I'm going to do afterwards, how I'm going to make money, how I'm going to build up for my retirement fund without insurance and all those kind of things. And today I believe that it's just a different form of responsibility. Like, I'm still a German, I'm still a saver, I still have insurance, I still save for retirement, but the system doesn't do it anymore for you. So there's no one anymore like that takes, 20% from a salary and puts it into this, and 20% from a salary and puts it into this. And that's just a very German way of like doing things when you get paid by an employee. I just have to do that myself now. It's again like stepping into the CEO identity of being responsible for your taxes and being responsible for your insurance and taking responsibility for those things. But now I pay my salary and I pay my insurance. I do get, though, that it's, of course, uncomfortable to leave the security of having a fixed salary at the end of the month, no matter what. I was a big fan of this. I didn't admit it, but I loved the security that the day job actually provided. And at the same time, I wasn't made for it. I think many people are made for it. They just can't cope with a massive level of insecurity and never knowing how much money they're going to generate next month. So I do think you kind of need to grow a little bit into this entrepreneurial mindset of becoming more comfortable with a higher level of ups and downs in your bank account, in your energy, in your feeling of security. But it also allowed me so much more than I would have ever achieved in a job. I only saw what I could lose when I quit my job. But the money I've now generated, the savings I now have, is so much more than I ever could have achieved if I would have stayed in the job in Germany. And I didn't see that at that point. I only saw what I could lose. I didn't really see that now I sometimes earn 10 times more per month than in my day job back in Germany. And it was not a bad day job. It was one where I climbed up the career ladder for 10 years. And that is just amazing. And that allows you just to put more on the side and to be even safer. So I actually now feel safer than I did in a day job, because it's my business, it's my job. I know the money's coming in. I do get that there is a period though where it's like, oh my God, what if I quit my day job and then I don't know what's happening? But I was just not available for it anymore at some point. I was like, okay, this has to work out. There's just no other way.
I like really, it's amazing you said like you actually feel safer now than before, because I think at one point where you already built your brand and the money is coming in, and you know at some certain point you always kind of have this amount of money coming in, you actually start feeling more secure anyway. One thing I would love to know before we get to the questions I like to ask everyone at the end is, because so many people are like, oh, but you know, I'm already this age. I don't know. I can't really actually do this anymore. I'm too old for that. So would you like to tell us, like, when did you actually start with your own business?
I started with my own business. How old am I? I'm 36 now. I started when I was 33. I also, it's a limiting belief like everything. Like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too German, I'm too much into my security system. I have clients who are 60 and they start their own business because they don't want to do it anymore what they've done their whole life, and they want to follow their passion and they're just fed up with it. I also had clients that are 21, which I am like, kudos. With 21, I was far away from having the courage to do something like that. I was far away from having the mindset to do something like that. But I don't think that there's only 21-year-olds in the entrepreneurial world. I don't believe that age, like, in all honesty, age has nothing to do with it, really. It's just one of the stories we tell ourselves. If you have more work experience, you can use your work experience to start your business. Then I have young clients that say, I can't start a business because I have no work experience. So we all have our thing that we think is holding us back, and it's something different for everyone. It's because I'm this or that, or too old or too young, or because I have 3 kids, or blah, 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 blah. You still get to design your life. Doesn't matter.
Cool. Yeah, I really like that. So now I would like to come to the last 3 questions I will ask everyone, and the first one would be, is there a book or a podcast or anything you say, wow, that's it, that's really the one thing I really love reading, or I love listening to?
I am a bookworm, so I have many, but I think Eat, Pray, Love was one of the books that first showed me there is people traveling and really doing something very different. It's so many years ago that I even picked that up, but I feel like it has highly influenced me to just see that there is something else apart from living this conventional life. And podcast, my favorite podcast is the Manifestation Babe podcast. Catherine Zankina has taught me a lot. She's been one of my one-on-one mentors for 1.5 years. And she teaches how you can, manifest anything, which always sounds so wild when you say it like that, but it's really actionable on how can you get out of this box of limited thinking and into actually really understanding you create your reality. So you've created your current reality, and you can also create your future reality.
Cool. I really like the book you recommended, because it's so funny, because most of the time you hear these classic business books, and now it's something totally different. And I really like that you actually have some inspiring stories, even like in, like, let's say, like normal novels or even movies.
Yeah.
So
Since April, I wanted to go to Bali. It was like, oh my God, me in the rice fields with the bicycle, like Elizabeth Gilbert or Julia Roberts, if you've seen the movie. And now I'm in Bali a lot. So I feel like this was kind of early guidance for me to find my place.
And if there's one quote or a saying you live by, what would it be, or is there a quote you live by, kind of?
I like we rise by lifting others. So I feel like I am successful in business because my business is about making my clients successful and about me really caring about other people. And that is what works, because I really care about other people's success. And when I help them to be more successful, it reflects back on me and it makes my business more successful. But it always comes from helping others and coming from a place of service first.
Nice. And for finishing the last question, if there would be like a magical wand you had, and you could change something in the world, or you could give something to the people, what would it be like?
That's such a great question. I would love for every person to have a master NLP certification, because that is really how you will understand how people work, what drives people, how to communicate with people. And I think at least every politician or every leader or every company owner should have those skills. But actually, I do believe everyone would really, really benefit from understanding how other people tick. So you don't take personal what they do or what they say. That is more about them and their fears and their patterns than it is always about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get that, because it's so much stuff we project on others, or we think someone takes something bad, or we think someone is mad at you, and at the end, it's just, most of the time they're just mad at themselves.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. And if the listeners would like to get to know more about you, what would be the best address to reach you?
So my brand name is Dream Life Deluxe. So the website is dreamlifedeluxe.com. You can find me under Dream Life Deluxe on Instagram. I'm a lot on Instagram. And then otherwise on Facebook, I'm under my full name, Susi Kaeufer. Kaeufer with A-E-U for international spelling. The Germans will get that now. Everyone else would be like, well, how else would you write it?
Cool. Thank you very much for having the time. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed the time. And I wish you all the best and lots of fun during your travels.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I'm very happy to connect with other Germans who, left the box of normal and created something awesome.